Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday. We're talking shift today with Michelle Wolfe. What's up, Michelle?
Well, it's rainy here. Mucky. It's all muck now.
Oh,
Spring
really?
is here. So we've had our time change. That really feels like a shift itself. Like when the daylight savings time, it's like, whoa, even I was able to barbecue dinner last night outside because it's still light out. So that's like it's like a sudden shift from one day to the next. To certainly feel that, and then to have the moon, the full moon, a lot of energy at this time. We're finishing up the Mercury retrograde now,
Yeah.
but
as of today, first day out of it, right?
Yeah, and but like Sheree and Kira say, it takes a little while to work its way out, but I think it's officially done. But yeah, I really felt knocked out last week for a couple days there. Really hit hard. It was like a couple days before the full moon, and it hit my head really hard again. Tons of pressure. Feels like you're getting the flu, like getting sick. My throat all swelled up, and just knocked out, absolutely exhausted and so heavy. But yeah, so I just slept a lot for the day and then really felt a lot better the next day. I find the typical cycle, and it just kind of moves through. By day 3, sort of hits, or the second night, it's like hits my stomach, and I'll have a bit of discomfort there, but I'm just kind of used to it. Works its way out, and by day 3, I'm fine. So I'm just a little kind of shaky today. I do find the full moon energy to be really strong with me always, and this was as like a super moon, so really leaves me feeling very spacey. But the other thing that's been going on is, what we've been talking about for a few weeks now, is this increasing vibration and feeling that, we talked at first when we mentioned it was like you're lying in bed and it feels like the bed's shaking, like but then I realized, no, it's me shaking. And it's this vibration. Well, that is really what I have noticed. We talked about how it wasn't so much like a daily big increase, but in each week that we talked, I noticed it was really filling in the spaces, and how much more I was noticing it, and how it was becoming stronger. And it really has, like, the timing of when I really felt like all this heavy pressure, since then, this vibration has been constant and sometimes very strong. I feel it very specifically in local areas, as well as vibrating through the body, but it's coming very powerfully at some points, and I feel it at the center base, like at the very center base of my skull, inside, really where I think the pineal gland must be, like right in there, and it's vibrating, and it vibrates down my throat. I feel it vibrate in my chest. Sometimes it's very strong there, in the solar plexus. And then what I'm actually finding is it comes in and it vibrates in, and it sort of tingles down to the root. And it's like it pings off of there, and there's like muscle reaction or twitching going, like pulsing going on. It's like a pulsation. So I'm really feeling this come in and vibrate, and then hit off of there and rebound back up again. It's constant now. Not that like that it's always that strong, but what's that?
It's constant, but at different degrees.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify for those who's watching this, that might not have seen the previous episode, we were talking about actually two types of vibrating. One would be more of a buzzing through your body. The other one would be more of a slower, like your dog is scratching himself on the bed and you can kind of feel the bed shaking a little bit. So it's not
It's an
as buzzy.
oscillation like this.
Right. It almost feels like
Yeah,
a train. You live right
it
next to the
was like
train
the dog
track
is
and it's
on the couch scratching itself. Boom,
right.
boom, 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 boom. Or the train, it feels like the train is constantly going by.
Right.
Now, when the train does go by, oh my gosh, that's what I'm finding too, that I'm so susceptible to any noise and vibration now. So it's like I'm constantly feeling it.
My daughter's been really extra sensitive to sounds too, even causing panic
Yeah,
attacks and stuff at school. She's like, it was just
that's it, because
so
it
loud.
feels like anxiety.
Yeah.
It's leaving me a little shaky, like I feel a little woozy off today, but it's this vibration, like if you're constantly, and I think it's because we kind of associate it with that anxious butterflies in the stomach
Yeah.
anxiety feeling, because it's like like this,
Yeah.
so you feel like you're nervous or something, maybe,
Right.
right? But I mean, I keep myself in a very meditative, calm state. So, I mean, it's not that. When I lie down, I can actually feel it reverberating through my body.
Right.
And a couple times it's come in, like, especially late evening, when lying down for bed and going to in this like meditative state. And usually I go lie down because at that time I'm feeling, I'm a night owl like you, right? We stay up a little later. So, it's kind of those peak hours too.
Right.
And I'll feel when the energy really starts to build and the pressure starts to build. And it's like a beam hitting the crown. The
Mm-hmm.
pressure, it's like, and I can feel like opening. Then the pressure will increase on the forehead. And then I'll start to feel this reverberation. It starts to vibrate right at the base of my skull, and then starts to go down. A lot of times there'll be maybe a little bit of, it's not even full heart palpitations, but it feels like a little flippy flop, little
Right.
butterfly in the heart, little flippy flops
Sure.
and stuff. That's kind of the feeling that I'm feeling at the root.
Yeah.
When I said it sort of, it's kind of does
Like a
this weird
spasm,
thing that
sort of.
I've never experienced before, right? And it's not low down. It's like at the root, but it's weird. It's like up inside me, and it kind of feels like that same sort of flippy floppy feeling that the heart gets, where it just kind of goes bloop bloop for a second.
Okay, so it would be similar to what we experience in our heart or in our solar plexus when you feel like your stomach does a flip or your heart does
Yeah, it feels like
a
it's doing
flutter.
that to my root now. Like, and I can feel the vibration come in, and then it'll connect.
So when
And
you
it'll
said
do
it went up, does it go from the red to the orange? I guess that would be from the first to the second. Would that be from the root to the sacral? Is that the second one? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
sacral
solar
is
plexus is the
red,
third.
orange
Yeah.
to yellow,
Right,
yellow
right.
solar plexus, right? Green for heart.
So it's almost
Um,
like you're filling it in the first four chakras at this point, then.
it's going, yeah, it's hitting all the way
At
through.
some
It
point.
definitively now.
Right,
I,
right.
I can really say that this is a definite vibration.
Now, is it the
That
Kundalini
is,
rising, and it's like to your heart now, and it's
maybe because I do feel like it's like a rippling up of blissful energy that ripples back up with it. It sort of does feel like it lights up the sacral, and can lifts up the solar. I may feel like the repeating bloop bloop in the heart as it goes back in again. Um, but the vibration and how specific it is, and in that it's not something outside around me, that it literally is in the core, it's hitting these chakras, it's like goes down the spine track, not the spine necessarily, but I can feel it. It's really undeniable now, and it's constantly there. It's just the level that it's there, and I can choose to go meditate and tune into it any time I want.
Let me
um
ask you this really fast. Does it seem to pick up when you're because I often think of the sacral as the creation process, and we typically associate that with sex or whatever. But there's also the whole creative process of things that you do a lot of, like playing the piano,
Yes, it
doing
hits me when I'm in
art.
a zone.
Okay, so maybe it's like you're
I'm
like bringing that
noticing that.
right,
Yeah, because I do. That's why I stay up later. I always have. I find I'm more creative at night.
right, right.
I've just always done more creative stuff at night. And I do find when I kind of when I lock into that creative zone, it starts to come in, the pressure starts to build, and sometimes it's getting to the point, the vibration, it's almost feeling like it's affecting my vision.
Right.
So actually, the other thing I wanted to mention, I almost forgot this too. What I've noticed a few times over the last few weeks, wasn't sure at first. It was a really weird sensation, but I'm noticing seeing with my eyes closed, like at night, almost when I'm like that in between state of meditation. Um, it's like I can see my room
With your eyes closed.
with my eyes
Yeah,
closed.
okay. I've been doing that since 2017 and
Yeah,
little spurts.
it's like I'm lying there in this state, and then all of a sudden I'm realizing it's like my eyes are, oh, I feel like my eyes are open, but it's not it's my inner eye that's open.
Right.
And it has a sensation to it of feeling like your eyes are open, like you're seeing. And I'm realizing that I'm seeing my room. It's like to have your eyes closed and all of a sudden the dream picture comes up, because I've been noticing that ability too, where I sort of remain conscious more as the dreamscape, the
Right.
landscape kind of like fills in, but I'm still conscious, um, and how real it is, right? But I've been noticing that I'm looking, and that's my room. I'm like I'm seeing my room, and I'm seeing it clearly, like my eyes are open, but they're closed.
Right. I can't control
Yeah,
that, but definitely
I
get it
can't
sometimes.
control it. I've been really wondering about it, and sort of, it's like, but if I think about it now, it's like something that would just hit me. Like I was in such a sedated state, and of just having this dawning awareness that I'm viewing my room clear as day
Right.
at nighttime
Yeah.
with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An impossible task. Even if you'd opened your eyes and it's all dark, you'd see it better.
Yeah, but there's such a sensation to it of having your eye open. Like I think it's just going into that state, and that third eye just like popping open, you know,
Yeah.
and you're just in it, and you don't, yeah, it just dawns on me.
Let me say this really quick because we got John Benny in here and he's got a premiere
Oh, he
coming up in about an hour and 20 minutes, I guess it would be. Let me paste your
oh,
link in there so anybody after the show here, if you'd like to go over and check out the premiere of John Benny's 21st album release. Congratulations, John. Lots of love, lots of heart poured into all of that music. So appreciate what you
mhm.
do for the community and the world. Thank you, brother. So
Yeah,
that link is there if you guys want to click on over and check out that premiere. It should be starting shortly after we get done here, Michelle and I. Assuming we
perfect.
make it that long, we might run out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we're a little,
Huh?
we're doing okay so far.
Nah, we're doing great.
But I don't, yeah, I haven't, like, I've had fun in dreams lately, just kind of like adventures and stuff. Nothing really, no big messages or anything like that. That I've noticed. So no big stories to tell on that front. But I
Yeah, I've
think the
been
previous
noticing
was interesting.
deeper meditations like you were just talking about that sort of feel like they go along with that seeing with your eyes closed thing,
Yeah.
where you just sort of slip into, you like lose all time and you're like, I don't know. It was like ever since I had Jaylene on with her tones or whatever, I did this, this practice where I was sitting and I was humming and I was trying to get my third eye to vibrate. So I was making all these sounds. Because I watched the video, you can and like make all these weird sounds, and you can feel your head vibrating in different spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for apparently like a half hour. I have no idea how I did it so long. It didn't seem like that long,
Wow.
but just
Yeah.
trying. But when I came out of it, I felt so tired and drained, and like it was download time or something. So
Right.
I had to go take like a 20-minute nap. So it was like a half hour, which only seemed like I would have guessed 10 minutes. It was
Mm-hmm.
actually a 30-minute meditation turned into, so it was about an hour. So I don't know if I like activated some stuff and then downloaded it or what. I was just, having Jaylene on and knowing about the different sound things and stuff. So I was doing that with some of, my speaking in tongues, light language, and stuff, and just playing
Mhm.
around with it, sort of just intuitively doing it, because that's how
Yeah.
light language is. It's sort of like you just do it. It's not like you're thinking about it or anything. It just
Right.
so it was like with me, it was like the sounds at it, and that was intuitive. I just did it, and I kind of was focusing on where my head felt like it was vibrating from the sounds and stuff. 30 minutes later, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I am so dizzy and out of it, and I had to. It's
Well,
like,
I do with the frequencies like every day.
yeah. Oh, like
And
the
there's
binaural.
definitely, oh
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
yeah, huge response. Yeah, and it, it does it really. I think that's part of it that I'm getting such a sense of this vibration. And I know when I look at the, the dreams that I've had where I'm really experiencing these drastic changes. That's the one thing. It's I'm vibrating. There's such an awareness of this vibration. And it's almost like it's like a tool. Um it's another sense that we haven't been using, and it's like tuning a dial, and even like, the flying around in dreams, all of these different things. um it's like it's using this sense of feeling your vibration and moving it. It's not moving your body, it's like it's moving your vibration and directing it and adjusting it. And I know that's being training for, for this change in the shift in how we use these new senses.
It has to be
You
a
know,
lot like having a muscle you haven't used, and you just got to
yeah,
work it out. It's just,
yeah, and that's what it feels like sometimes.
yeah,
In the head when it gets so tired, like it actually really gets tired, and it feels like muscle strain, or like,
yeah. That's what we were
if
talking
you get
about last week.
glasses,
Yeah,
yeah, when you get new glasses.
the headache that comes from your eyes straining.
Oh
Yeah,
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 that's really what it feels like. But it's back here in the third eye, in the pineal gland, and
yeah.
in the connections from the forehead and the eyes to the ears. It all connects together. It's like it uses all that information and just into this little consolidated area that vibrates. It literally vibrates, guys.
So I need somebody like Albert
Honestly,
Taylor that goes out of body all the time and is real familiar with it, to see if he's had that experience where you see with your eyes closed, to see if that is, because it feels like a precursor to going out of body. You're already beginning to use the
yeah,
senses of your etheric body, because that's what
that's
that
it.
is, your third eye or whatever. And
Yeah,
and if you're going out of body at night, your body's laying there, your eyeballs and ears are laying there, but you're hearing and seeing with something, right, with your
yeah.
consciousness, and that's what it feels like almost. It feels like,
And how do you move that something about? How do
right.
you
How
adjust
do
the
you push all
focus
the
on
way
that
out?
something?
Exactly.
Right? Like, how do I, okay, I want to, with that something,
Yeah.
like I know how to use my eyes, my ears, my taste, my touch, right? But these new senses, it's like, okay, how do I focus with these senses? How do I use them? And I think that's really what we train a lot in the dreams with. Um, but in understanding this vibration and feeling this frequency, this energy within you, because I do feel it. I feel like this lift, like if I'm lying in the bed and the vibration is really coming in, you know it's the sense of who I am is much more dispersed, and starts to lift.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny, it's very similar to, like, my body goes actually stiff sometimes. I have to keep relaxing,
Mm-hmm.
because the energy is so much, it actually stiffens out, similar to when I had the BQH sections, when under hypnosis, and the energy hits me and comes in, and I'm like, stiff. I don't know if you guys have ever seen some videos. Alba Weinman has videotaped. I know I've seen a few different people
Get like stiff.
react like that. Yeah, or you'll twitch, your eyes will start twitching, or you just kind of like stiffen up, right?
Right.
So that's been really happening. I keep finding I have to really release that energy, and try to relax in it, because the body will actually stiffen up. It's so much energy.
Well, it's really interesting that I find, going back to the vibration thing, I should probably point this out. Okay, so we've talked about waking up and you're still feeling yourself vibrating from something. It's
Mm,
like this lingering, like it just went away and you're like zing, you're like, what the heck? And it's like slowly fades over a few minutes of you waking up or whatever.
right.
But I've had people in BQH sessions, upon bringing them out of the session, they're like, wow, my body's still really buzzing. And then I ask them, like, well, and this is several people, do you ever experience this when you're waking up? And they're like, no, I never get this. I'm like, wow, that's
Wow.
weird. So I see this
Yeah, but do they
connection.
start to get it more after they have the sessions and it initiates
That's
that?
true. Yeah, I need maybe people will check back with me that had it a while ago and say, well, you know what, the buzzing started since the BQH session. Now when I wake up, but it's still
Hmm.
one way or the other. It leads me to believe that we're going somewhere in our sleep time, just like they're going somewhere in these sessions and having these experiences. It's just more of a guided tour, if you will. You know.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty incredible experience for me. There was definitely a real, my first session I had with Michael Garber. Um, it really did shift something with me. It was a massive energy exchange, and it's one of those things that you don't. Was literally at the time like opening my eyes, and I was vibrating. My eyes were vibrating. Um, I had so many sensations going on, and I felt so different. I remember too, my friend came by. It was literally like 45 minutes after I had the session, and she'd just seen me that day. She'd forgotten that I was having the session, but she came by and she asked me 5 times if I dyed my hair. I'm like, no, I didn't. You just saw me today. She's like, what is it? Like yeah, you dyed your hair. You did something. I'm like, no, I had the hypnosis session.
How awake and aware is she?
Um, I mean, she knew what I was doing, but no,
I
not
mean,
like we are.
is
No,
it
no, it's
possible
not
she was
somebody I
seeing an?
even still talk to.
Is it possible she was seeing an aura that?
I don't know, but she definitely saying shit. But I felt like I had new skin. I felt so refreshed. There was, yeah, it's hard to explain. Um,
So it
how
felt.
different it was, and a lot of the effects, it's been time, it's been like almost 2 years, and um it's seeing how much continue, like how I let go of things, even
So
more so things I didn't need, things that weren't good for me, after that, easily.
Transfer Motion, Michael Garber, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, he
your
two
session
sessions
with
with him.
him, you felt like it helped you. Did it? Do you feel like it helped you open up, or do you feel like it helped you release some things that helped you to open up, or what do you feel like happened with that? I mean, it had a lasting effect. Is sort of what I'm getting at here, right? From that point moving forward.
it Yeah, it really did. um Things that I didn't, I think, even really realize that I was holding on to, that just didn't serve me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
um, became very easy to release. Just um, different things. Just I didn't need things.
Did it happen in the
Didn't need
session?
things.
Did it happen in the session, or was it subsequent to the session, or did you have a little bit of releasing during it and a little bit more after? Or
Um, there is some things that I noticed immediate effects of, but I think overall, looking at how much I was able to release so easily, stuff that I didn't notice
all right,
before, it became very clear to me and just didn't fit anywhere inside of me anymore. So I can see how much that took place on different levels. And then my life shifted very much to accommodate that,
mm.
of getting me out of and away, away from those situations that weren't any good for me, including a friend that came by that day.
All right.
That's not somebody that I even talk to anymore. So, yeah, I see those shifts. Diet changes, I noticed. Um, yeah, there's just so many things. We look to the story, and I mean, the stories, like those things have come back to me. Like a lot of the information that I gave at that time, it was just so crazy. Like all these big stories. I'm like, where did all this come from? And it's weird when you're in it. It's like going through a dream and remembering it and everything. But seeing how much of this information is like come back around full circle,
Yeah.
and tied in other places, how the synchronicities have keep coming back from these different things that I brought up, that I didn't know those connections at the time. So it's kind of taken a little while to see how many connections there are to me, like relevant to me, from this story that just, was so wow, wild out there, Egypt and, all
Right.
of that. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
And you find out other pieces of the puzzle along the way, and you realize, oh, that goes with that. I didn't even know.
So it definitely
So
helped you connect some dots, but it sounds like a lot of them got connected after the fact.
it's an ongoing it's an ongoing process. I mean, I think that we're so tied into thinking things that are like day and night, sudden changes, black or white, like it all happens in a day. But that's our obsession with time.
Yeah.
Because when you remove the time aspect of it and can sort of look at this overview, you see the massive changes. But sometimes when you're in it, it can feel stagnant. But it's not. It's constantly evolving, and that's why a lot of times in hindsight, we can see that greater picture. But when we're in it, and it's because we remove the time from it.
Yeah.
And our judgment of progress based on time. But it's, I don't know.
What would you say about intuition? Would you say your intuition increased after that? Did it help give you better connection?
You will. I've always been very tied to my intuition and my dreams and everything else. But increasing synchronicities. Yeah, I'd say that. I think it did have an effect too on the feeling the power of my own energy.
Right.
And within dreams, even just clear. It amped that up. It's such a clear, definitive thing to me that I can hold at any time within my core now. And in a lot of ways, I think it really helped lock that in. But it cleared the way. It cleared the way to hold that energy. There's so many things that we have to let go of. We don't realize that we hold on to, and habits and all kinds of things. And it shook a lot of that free from me and made it effortless to just let it fall away and leave and move on.
How many sessions total have you had? I know you had one with me and one with Michael. Did you have any other ones?
I've had a few. I had a couple with Michael.
Do you feel like you get more out of that initial time?
That was pretty powerful.
Right,
yeah. And his energy is off the hook, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very, very spiritual and clean, living this healthy vegan diet I think it really makes a difference on the amount of energy he himself is also able to insert into this process.
All
right. But it was very physical. It was the most physical experience. The first one was the most physical, as far as lying there and feeling things going on within my body that I have never experienced before, where you're like, whoa. Like, yeah.
I've been really surprised at how much it can completely vary from feeling more physical to feeling more energetic to feeling more spiritual to feeling more emotional. Sometimes it's like you get this overwhelming love and peace that comes through. Sometimes, like, I think it was John Benny's session that was probably the most energetic. I mean, it was like the whole time I had these waves of vibration going through me just during a session, you know what I mean? And it was like constant, different degrees.
Oh, there you go. Lost you for a sec.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, John's energy is just so
Yeah.
like, so yeah, I think that's it. You know, we have to, have to look at that too. And there is a mixing, of energies going on when you're taking part in this
Right.
process of yourself with somebody else, and you're spending that time together. And I think you're going to pick up on that. So yeah,
Absolutely. That's why it's so
we
important
had
to
a great,
trust the person you're doing it with too. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
super
Yeah,
important.
we had a good, I had a really good energy experience with you though too, actually. Not um
Not as
not
physical.
not as physical, like when I say physical with the first one I had, it's like there were things moving in my body,
Right.
physical. I
Right.
literally felt like things were being moved, like hands were going into my body and moving things in my body.
Wow.
It was very physical. With you, it was a real energy experience.
Right. What? Yeah, I remember the energy with you too.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was something else.
Really
And I think
strong waves of energy with you.
really strong,
Yeah.
really, really strong. And then blissed out. And I think I do the laugh and cry thing too. Yeah,
Did you do that in my session? Or
I did Travis. I know I did. My mind blurs because you're in a hypnotic state, right?
my mind blurs and I'm not. So
Yeah.
I feel so bad too because a lot of the people I have no idea what they look like or anything. So it makes it
Yeah.
even harder to sort of distinguish between sessions,
Hmm.
you know, and what came through with what session. And and then being that I'm in this meditative state, it
Yeah.
makes it more dreamy like too. You like what you're
Yeah.
saying, you know?
Well,
So
I've had it a couple times where I laughed hysterically, but
I
the one
remember
whether
that.
it
I
was
don't
you or
remember
Travis,
which
it
one.
was yeah, whether it was you or Travis, I was laughing hysterically because of the energy. Like there
Right.
was not a specific reason. What was funny with my first experience is I was laughing hysterically because I was in this story of the Ark of the Covenant being removed like off planet. It was like this joke, like they and put on the new Earth,
Right.
and that here they were looking around for it all this time, and it's not even there. And it was like the funniest thing. It was, and it was so weird. It was like I was that person. Like this was such a real thing, and I thought this was just the most hilarious thing that I couldn't stop laughing. Really
It's
interesting.
almost
But
like
I've
your
also
soul
had
was
it.
getting tickled or something.
Yeah, but I also had it too. Where I think the very first story I went into was in Ireland. This past life, and I lost a daughter, and the grief. Oh my gosh, the grief that I experienced.
Yeah.
And it was so real for what I lost, and the sadness. That there is that too. So it's a very interesting thing to be put in such a real emotional state
Yeah.
over what you think isn't your story, or even just the energy, the laughing hysterically.
Right. Right.
It was like this was the biggest joke. I couldn't tell you what the biggest joke, but it was just this overwhelming feeling, like when you open your eyes and you wake up and you see what this really is, you wouldn't not be taking everything so seriously. It was like the energy, it was just contagious laughter. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is a valid and a very enlightened view right there because I get little glimpses of
Yeah.
that, you know. And even Dolores Cannon would talk about the people would, you know, she'd take them into life and then they would die. And then she's like, well, what happens after you die? And they're like, oh my gosh, it was all a big play this whole time. It was all,
Yeah.
you know, and it was like they can't believe it. It's like, oh, I can't believe I was fooled by all of this. It's so
Yes.
clearly a big play.
Yes. That's it. That's it. It really comes in, like, and the joy from that. Then there was relief too at the time. Like it
Yeah.
was such a mix of so many emotions.
But
Yeah.
you gotta understand that, you know, assuming that taking the point of view that we've done this to ourselves to experience life. Like maybe we did it a bunch of times and kept our memories, and it was just like, I wonder what would happen if we did it without remembering and see what happened.
Right.
And then you go into this life and you experience all of this stuff. And, you know, I think even though I have that knowledge of it all being a game or a classroom for experience, and that there's no real danger and all of that. It is sort of like getting involved with a great movie, and you're sitting there and crying for these actors that aren't really going through what you're watching them go through, but you're very tied emotionally. You're invested in this
That's it,
person.
exactly.
But at any point, if it ever gets too intense or too extreme, you can always take a step back and look, I'm watching this. It's just a movie. That actor is going to play in something else next year, and and then you can kind of like do this reality check. But I do that with real reality. If
Exactly.
stuff gets a little hectic, I'm like, look, it's always worked out up to this point. I've tried to prove it wrong.
Yep.
And every time I look deep enough to something horrible that's happened, I see something so beautiful that came from it. You know what I mean? So much growth and all of this. So I can't help but see it that way. And I'm constantly trying to disprove this whole thing, because the last thing you want to do is be wrong and just think you're being like ignorantly led into a trap or
Right.
something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I'm not just like going with the flow, like just haphazardly. I do
Right.
logically and analytically think everything out, and it still makes sense that this is all something of our own creation, and that we're just living it out for experience, and that we're growing exponentially from it. It's not even
Yes.
like just a constant growth. It's like we're growing so much in the now. I mean, we talk about an event in the future, a shift in the future, but there is so much going on at this exact moment right now. It's just boggling to the mind to see how
That's
much
it.
things. And if you look at the bell curve of anything, whether it's the population, the gross national product, whatever it is, you watch them all. They all, like, if you look back far enough, they're all like almost going straight up right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I see, behind this. Like, growth has grown so much, it's almost like we're just going straight up in growth of
Yes.
everything, population,
Yes.
money, whatever it is, but also
Yeah.
on a spiritual level and
Mm-hmm.
experiencing and all of that.
It's popping through to another level.
Right.
It's,
There's no way to fell is what I'm getting at. I mean,
no, it's leveling up, not leveling down. No matter where you are in the scale,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
going up an octave. That's
Yeah.
all. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't swim upstream.
Yeah.
And it really gets back to the dream that you helped me interpret with the whole, like, I just got to leave all this chaos of all this drama and get back in
Right.
the flow.
Yeah.
Because you can
So,
get
yeah.
stuck.
Yeah.
You totally get stuck.
Don't
And so
worry
many
about
people
the
get
drama.
stuck.
Yeah.
So many
But
levels of getting stuck. You know what I mean?
we don't realize, I touched on it a bit last week, but we're fed a constant diet of drama our whole lives. We really are
Yeah.
fed a constant diet of drama. Um and people feed off of it. And you don't realize when you start eliminating this drama, like how much distraction there is in the world around you. Everything that we see on, I mean, look at the reality shows they create and why they're so popular, because people are hooked on drama.
Yeah.
Soap operas, why were they so popular? People were hooked on drama. The news, why is that popular? Because it's just like
But
fear,
it's real.
what's going on in the news. It's like,
Right.
and if there's nothing going on the news, you feel like, oh, it's boring. There's nothing going on in the news. Well, why do you feel it's boring? I mean, you can look for the good around you at any time, but we're just so used to the drama. Like, oh, look at the whole coronavirus thing right now. Jeez, I mean, guys, thousands of people die of the flu every year. Every year. There's a million things you could be worried about. It's the fact that they're like publicizing it, like advertising it, and putting lab coats on people and masks, and everybody goes into a panic. But it's because they feed off the drama. If they didn't need to eat all this drama, they wouldn't be freaking out about this coronavirus. Like, you take a step back and go, well, what are the actual statistics on flu deaths every year?
Right.
Go look it up. How many, how do you, like, it's just silly. There's a million things you could worry about, just because they publicize things. So,
But
I don't
isn't it,
know.
it's exciting though,
Well, it gets just, oh, there's something going on. Oh, there's something to talk about. there's something to gossip about. We don't realize how much, people, you get drawn to that, the chatter at work around, the water cooler. What's the gossip? What's the drama?
And then
You know?
just the
Yeah.
status quo of working and working the grind just to pay your bills and all that. How many people are just like, wow, I hope it hits this area. Maybe I'll get a few days off work. You know what I
Jeez, yeah. Well, the way people are freaked out right now, all you got to do is go to work probably and sneeze, get sent home. It's just silly. I mean, you just take the precautions that you always do. I mean, I worked in the restaurant industry for years, so I'm pretty conscious of it. I'm glad I'm not in it. Like, you get sick so much more being out in the public. There is a lot you have to do, but I mean, the germs are all around, and there's lots of things you can worry getting sick from or dying from if that's what you're set on doing. I wouldn't buy into the publicity stunt.
Right.
Really, is what I think it is.
Let's see. Carolyn says, the question is, what don't they talk about? And that's a great, because somebody else brought that up. It's like, well, they got all this stuff going on with that. What is really going on that they're trying to get you to look at this instead of something else? And
what are they exactly? Don't
and you
talk
get
about
so drawn into that, you get tunnel vision. It's like the whole thing I talk about what worldviews. I'm like, as soon as you subscribe to a certain worldview, you like close yourself off to learn anything if it's outside of that paradigm. And that's this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're so focused on this one topic, what are you missing?
And that's what I see that they do all the time. It's one camp or the other, right? We talk about this. It's Democrat or
dichotomy.
It's a flat earth or it's a round earth. It's a this or that. It's that. And what I say to you guys every single time, whatever 2 items they're selling you, there's a third. It's not on the shelf that they're not telling you about, which is probably really more what the truth is. So if you're buying one of the 2 things, you're buying what it is that they're selling you. Yeah. Whatever drama opposing, you're this side or you're that side. And that's what they want you to pick a side. As long as you're on a side, you're not in unity.
Right.
And you're not unbiased.
Right.
You're not able to take a step back and see the greater picture. So you can't see the truth of what it is they're selling you. So yeah, so I think there's always, I think that's the big trick, oh no, it's a flat earth. No, it's a round earth. Hey, guess what? It's probably neither.
Right. Maybe it's whatever you load in individually.
I'm going with a Taurus.
Right. Or Sherry with her eyeball.
Maybe it's whatever you think it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the important thing is that's it. It's your reality. What you decide what it is, and if they want you to decide that it's what they're selling you, one side or the other. And I know there's this person who's going to be, well, who's they? Never mind. If you have to ask me who they is. Same person every single time.
Same person or group of people. The good they, the bad they, the controlling they. Yeah.
Yeah.
The spiritual, the physical they.
Yeah, I don't need to get, yeah.
So it's funny, I was going into a Family Dollar with my wife a few days ago, and she's at the front looking at something. I'm standing there, and this girl comes in with her mom or grandma or something, and she's like, coronavirus is coming. And I'm like chuckling, and I whisper, I'm like, did you hear that little girl say the coronavirus, blah, 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 Just then, she it creeped right up on me. She's like, excuse me, did you know the coronavirus is coming?
Oh, my goodness.
And then just as we were leaving the store, just before the door shut, I could hear her in there. Coronavirus is coming. So funny.
And the sales of Corona beer have gone down. Really?
Yeah, I've seen all sorts of. There's so. We should devote an hour to just funny memes, because there's a lot of funny memes. There was
oh my gosh, we could have fun with that.
Yeah, there was a case. There was a case of Corona beers, and then up at the top there was all of these dust masks, so you could buy your Corona beer and your dust mask at the same time. So.
Yeah.
Funny stuff though. But yeah, I think it's just all it's all too sort of.
Sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Sorry.
No problem. So yeah, I think for the most part, it's just a matter of us Being brave, moving forward, not letting any of the. Oh my gosh, I'm my own guest today. Let's see if she'll hop back in here. Hey, it's alternate reverse me. Oh, maybe that was the cable internet repair guy that showed up. We're going to cut your wire right here. Let's see if I can get Michelle back on. Well, we'll see. She might not come back. I don't know. It sounded like she had commotion in her house. Maybe it was like. Oh, here we go.
Okay. Don't
Yay.
panic.
You're
Don't
back.
panic. Don't panic.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. It just said connections lost, and you disappeared. But that's okay.
We're here. We're alive. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
So yeah, I think the main thing is not to fall for all the hype of it. You know, it's like
Yeah.
their solution is just regular stuff that we should be doing anyway. You know, wash our hands and just good hygiene. I mean, they really have nothing to offer other than they actually said the Lysol with the coronavirus thing on the back doesn't fight the new coronavirus, so they don't want. Who knows? Just wash your hands and practice good hygiene.
I firmly, I do. You talk about experiments. Experiments to see how we affect reality and everything. And I really do believe, you convince yourself that you're going to get sick. You're darn right you're going to get sick. And if you know within your being that that's not your story, then it's not your story. It's not in your cells. Exactly. Your cells aren't ready and prepared to make that happen for you. They're ready and prepared to. That's not in my reality, And if it is part of my story, then I'm capable and confident of going with the flow of whatever this is. I'm not from this perspective of this is a bad event, a good event. They're events guiding me along the way. If illness is part of that journey that my soul has designed for me, then you know what? All right, let's do it. Let's get it done.
See, and that again is that higher perspective. And I was talking a few times about this, that it's like you can take this higher perspective that this whole thing is this classroom for experience, this game, if you will, this simulated reality just for our own experience and growth and all of that. And from that perspective, you can totally see how they send this wave of corona or whatever it is that sweeps through and gives everybody an excuse to exit the game right then. I mean, it's not necessarily this horrible thing like we always picture it, because if death isn't real, time isn't real, then
why would I be worried if there was an exit point? Right. I'm not concerned.
Like, we need to pull a bunch of people out of the game right now. Let's sweep. And coronavirus ain't it. Let me tell you, it's not.
No, it's
the
not.
The numbers of people that it's affecting is just not. I wouldn't even call it a wave, to be honest. A wave of fear and disinfo, maybe. But
it is, yeah.
Because it's just not. It doesn't. The numbers don't count up. You know what I mean?
There's plenty of topics they could choose to flash numbers in front of people's faces of death tolls, of a variety of things, and many things I think people should be a lot more concerned about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than a flu, and it happens every year. So, yeah, but we're all choosing our ride,
Yeah, Travis
choose your story, choose your end.
the hype, tune it out.
Yeah, tune it out. That's right.
Debbie's laughing at me. When you went off the air, it had the reverse, myself reversed up there with your name under me, and it looked like I was facing myself. It was funny. It was I felt like I was
with my name.
I felt like I was.
We were one.
Right.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
We do tend to agree on a lot of things.
It was a mirror of myself. It's funny that it was mirrored, though, because it made it didn't look like a copy. It looked like a mirror of it, so it's fine.
That's cool.
So let's see. Did we? Let me talk about the Schumann for a second here, because I felt like the Schumann looked kind of
staticky. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Shaky.
it's not. Yeah, it's
Can
not
feel it.
not too many black. Now these white areas are intense, but they're pretty low. I forgot to share, so you're not looking with me, but you've seen it.
That's okay. I checked it out this morning.
So the static is what I wanted to talk about because it seems really
Starting to
staticky, and
build
I've been
again.
feeling the stat. You know, could you be describing that static feeling with
I
what you were
do
talking
think
about?
so. Because I do look like when we do get those little blasts or spikes, I'm getting those times of um where that increases.
Yeah.
Like I said, where it's like really, it feels like a couple times I've almost had a pop, like a bigger pop blast through. It takes me up to this other level for a brief moment. That's like, oh my God.
Right.
And then it brings me back down. I do feel that it really coincides. And I mean, and when we do get these bigger blasts, the activity and dream, the higher likelihood that I'll go lucid, and maintain lucidity, I really find picks up when the Schumann is bopping along,
All right.
or blasting. I do notice a real correlation with that. Um, but what keeps coming back to me and it keeps getting reaffirmed is this cellular like shaking, this cell on a cellular level of how much these changes are being made, the
Yeah.
simplicity of the cells. And it comes back, and it, like I listen to Steve Noble all the time, because I always find like he senses the current energy, like what's required at that time, and we'll put a meditative video out that seems to really just address that energy that's currently coming in. And even though his last one, and he was talking again, it was the light in the cells, the cells. I find that theme coming up from other places, so I really feel like that's being affirmed.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is like, just leave all the drama, leave all the, and just the simplicity of the peace and light in the cells, and that this energy is shaking the shift the shift out of ourselves, and you can feel it, and
Yeah.
and it's reminding me, it's like telling me that's part of it, this shaking of this cells. It's like literally, like, how do you crack the egg, right? Crack it open.
Right.
It's shaking right out of that old paradigm.
It's so funny. John Binney saying, "Goodbye, old me." It is. It's like you're
Yes.
vibrating away the old self, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And at higher and higher levels, sometimes when these blasts come in, I really think that's what's happening. And feeling that vibrational response, I anticipate that it's just going to continue to increase. And I wonder that it's not going to be maybe just like this sudden moment. It is or it isn't. I don't know. I get different impressions. Maybe it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
You think it's a bit of both too?
I think we just have these expectations that it never amounts up to. So, like, where people might see this flash that the world experiences, could have been a Schumann blast of light that was just beyond our perception,
Yeah. I do think sometimes this stuff comes up in dreams, that we see it in dreams, and it's a representation of the current energy that's coming in at that time. Maybe it's not always a prophetic thing that's going to happen, or maybe it is. I'm not sure. I've had a lot of prophetic dreams, and there certainly is a lot of similarities to those experiences and sort of the energy and resonance that I feel, but I don't know if it's just it's showing me within my mind, within the dreams, of what I'm experiencing. So when a wave of energy comes in, it's not like like Fleur Byrne was in New York and saw. So the way some people, I think, can experience it like that, but I think some of these waves that come in, we get it represented to us in dream. And we see that energy, and then we experience the energy in the dream. So whether
it's like we see it in our dream, but in reality, we might feel it rather than see it as this.
Yeah, it's not see it like, so whether or not, I mean, it's something I go back at and forth on. So many stories, so many times I've seen it, so many other people have seen it, this wave
Right.
of energy that comes in that's so massive, and is that something that I'll actually like look out my window and suddenly that's a theme too. That's like in the middle of when you least expect it. All of a
Right.
sudden, boom, there it is. That seems to be a common theme that comes up too. But you know, whether or not that will happen or it's just this gradual amping up, which I am experiencing. You know, the vibrations that I'm feeling now are very similar to, you know, the energy experience, not as strong, but it's the same sensation. It's just a matter of it building to that point of what I've experienced in dreams. Well, that's a big mouth you have, Zoe. Did you give a good yawn for everybody? No, you can't kiss me while I'm on TV.
Aww.
Do you have something to add, Zoe? That she
Love,
loves me.
love, nothing but love.
That she, yeah, she's just a bundle of love.
So,
Okay?
so to before we go, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what you're talking about because we've touched on this before. This sort of meshing between thought, reality, dream time, having difficulty remembering if something was dreamt, thought about. I don't know how many times I've been in this situation where I'm in this conversation. I'm like, did I already say that, or
Or did I dream
was I
it?
about to
Oh,
say it?
yeah.
And so there's been a lot with that. Now, that's kind of loosely tied in with the Mandela Effect. If you can kind of start seeing alternate realities, alternate timelines, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you sort of talked about that a second ago, too. So you have this dream that it might not so much be prophetic, like it's the future of this particular timeline, but maybe it was a possibility at some point.
Yeah, like that's something too. Or yeah, there's so many levels that we're experiencing this grand story play out that I don't think we realize because we just had with blinders in the physical reality. But I think there's multiple layers where this story is playing out that we're experiencing it. And it really is this lifting, like as time is blurring, the boundary between dream and reality and memory is blurring.
Yeah.
And whether memory is for how are you remembering forward or are you remembering backward
Or sideways onto
or
another timeline that
sideways?
never, yeah.
Exactly. And
So
I
I wanted
think
to put
yeah,
that
all
out
of
there.
that's really blurring.
I wanted to put that out there in
No,
case people are
for sure.
experiencing anything like that. They can chime in because I'd like
Mom
to.
mom has been too. She's mentioned that to me, just getting these strange feelings and not deja vu, you know, not quite, it's a little different in
Right,
yeah, it can be, you know, forward, backwards, parallel,
right,
and hard to tell where it's even coming from.
right.
Yeah, it's definitely blurring, and I think it's the lifting of that time
Yeah.
and the yeah.
But it's important to mention it because that's something that probably, at least the people in our group would mention it to the people in our group, but you probably wouldn't mention it to anybody outside of the group, you know?
You brat. No, you can't have it.
Well, we could sit here and watch Michelle get tortured by love, or
So she took the headphone right out of my ear. I don't know if you saw that. Or their big jaws. They're so vicious. Eh?
oh, so cute.
She's a sweet girl. She looks like a big bad wolf. I think that's the sweetest thing ever.
Oh, she's so precious.
Yeah, she is.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you, Michelle, for
Yeah,
continuing to do
thanks,
this. And
bro. Glad we got through it. Hey, we came up with more than we thought we were
yeah, we had no
to
idea.
when
I'm
we
like, I
first
don't know what we're
started.
going to talk about today, but we'll let
That
it
was
flow.
fun.
That's
That
good
was
because we
some
get
good
out of the way.
topics.
Our higher self can bring in stuff, and then that's where all the
That's it.
synchronicities happen. Because people email me after shows like that, and oh my god, when
Yeah.
you mentioned this, the astronaut dream that
Yeah.
that was so crazy. I just barely mentioned it, and then somebody in St. Louis was like, "I'm supposed to send you these pictures," so I showed them on the show the other night. But it's so
Yeah.
funny because it's like it seemed pointless to me. It's like I don't know, just some dream about
No, but you
astronauts, and
just go with it,
yeah,
and that's what we do. That's how we do this show a lot.
oh
I
yeah.
think we just really leave it open for letting that it was some Zoe on the microphone, letting that intuition come in, right?
Absolutely. So I did want to warn you guys before we leave out. Party at John Benny's place here in about
Yeah.
what is that? 25 minutes, John. You can paste in the link if okay, perfect. You just did it. So post that link in there and let's party over at John's for his premiere. Lots of love and light to each and every one of you. I actually got to go to parent teacher conferences, but I will be there. I will watch it later. And thank you again, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, bro. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
And, see you next week.
Peace. Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.